Welcome to Murders and Monsters. Before we begin today, a brief warning. Contents may be disturbing and language may be explicit and inappropriate for young listeners, so listener discretion is advised. Hey guys, it's Marie.
Hey, it's Shelby.
All right, well, we're just going to go ahead and jump into our case this week. This week it's my turn, and we are going to be talking about the Candyman. The Candyman's real name is Ronald Clark O'Brien. O'Brien lived with his wife, Deneen, in Deer Park, Texas, with their son Timothy and their daughter Elizabeth. Timothy was 8 and Elizabeth was 5. O'Brien worked as an optician at Texas State Optical in Sharpstown, Houston. He was a deacon at the Second Baptist Church where he sang in the choir, and he also ran a local bus program. So on October the 31st of 1974, O'Brien took his 2 children trick-or-treating in Pasadena, Texas, in a Pasadena, Texas neighborhood. O'Brien's neighbor and his 2 kids accompanied them. So after visiting a few houses where they had gotten candy and stuff like that, they came upon a house where the occupant actually failed to come to the door. So the kids were getting like impatient and stuff, so they ran ahead to the next house. And O'Brien, he kind of like stayed behind. When he eventually caught up with the group, he produced 5 21-inch pixie sticks. Do you remember pixie sticks?
Yeah. Oh my
Like,
gosh, I haven't even seen them in years. I feel like we
me
used to
either.
go crazy on the pixie sticks. I mean, we'd open several and just, see what happens.
It's
And
like
they were
pure,
definitely not good for you.
right? It's like pure sugar. It's like pouring sugar
Pure
down your
sugar.
throat. That's
Yeah, I
it.
mean, sugar with maybe like I don't even know how you would
Maybe a little
season the
flavor.
sugar. It
Yeah.
was they season the sugar and put it in a stick.
Yeah. So that's what he came up with. He had 5 of them. He would later claim that the place that he had went, or the place that they had all went, where the person didn't answer the door, he would say that eventually that person came to the door, and that's where he got the pixie sticks from.
Hmm.
So at the end of the evening, O'Brien gave each of the neighbors' 2 children a pixie stick, and one each to his son Timothy and his daughter Elizabeth. Woo, I am so sorry.
Bless you.
That sneeze came out of nowhere. So anyway, he gave one each to the neighbor's children, 2 children, one to Timothy and one to Elizabeth. On their way home, O'Brien actually ran across another little boy. He was 10 years old, and they recognized him from church. So he handed the last pixie stick he had to that child. So before bed, you know how we all were when we used to go trick-or-treating and stuff. You dump out your candy, and before you go to bed, you get like however many pieces of candy that your parents say you can have, 1, 2, 3, whatever.
Mhm.
They ain't gonna give you too many because they want your little ass to go to bed.
Right.
But so you get like a limited number or a limited amount of candy.
Mm-hmm.
So before Timothy went to bed, he asked for his candy. Can I eat a piece of candy or something like that?
Mm-hmm.
And according to Ronald, his father, he chose the pixie stick. So Timothy had trouble getting the powdered candy out of the straw, so his dad helped him loosen up the powder. After tasting the candy, Timothy complained to his dad that it was really bitter. So O'Brien, he gave his son Kool-Aid to wash away the bitter taste. Timothy immediately began to complain that his stomach hurt, and he ran to the bathroom where he began vomiting and convulsing.
Oh my gosh.
O'Brien later claimed that he held Timothy while he was vomiting, and the child went limp in his arms. Timothy O'Brien died within an hour after consuming that candy.
Wow.
Within an hour after eating that candy, that
What in the
baby,
world?
that little baby was dead. Yes.
Oh
So
my gosh.
Timothy's death from poisoned Halloween candy, I mean, it raised fear all over the community. Numerous parents in Deer Park and the surrounding area turned like all of their Halloween candy into the police.
Yeah.
I mean, because of course they feared that it was
Oh,
laced with poison.
I couldn't imagine the fear. I mean, just the amounts of candy that's even passed out in Halloween. Did you know that a quarter of America's sales on candy is sold for Halloween?
Oh, I'm
Just the one
sure.
day?
Yeah.
A
I mean,
quarter.
that's
That's so much
crazy.
candy.
That's
That is
crazy.
so much candy. So
No,
yeah, I mean the fear, because that's I mean, most of the time for kids, they dress up, get candy, that's just the thing.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
I would be terrified.
Right. And I remember back when we were young, okay, when I say we were young, I mean me. I don't mean you. I mean me. I remember when all this first came about, and I'll get into it in just a few minutes. I was about to jump ahead of myself, but we're just going to keep going, and I'll tell you what I was going to say in just a minute. The police
Okay.
did not initially suspect O'Brien of any wrongdoing until Timothy's autopsy revealed that the pixie sticks that he had consumed were laced with a fatal dose of potassium chloride. Nope, potassium cyanide. Sorry, I said it
Oh
wrong.
gosh.
So when the coroner went in there to actually do the autopsy on this little boy, he cut him open and was looking around, and he smelled almonds. Remember how you and I had discussed that before?
Yeah, we had that. Yeah, we had that for the angel of death.
Yeah. So, and if y'all remember that case, there's only a certain percentage of people who can actually identify that smell. I mean, it's very unusual for a person to be able to identify that smell.
Mm-hmm.
So, 4 of the 5 pixie sticks that O'Brien claimed to have received were recovered by the authorities from the other children, none of who had consumed the candy, thank God. The parents of the 5th child became hysterical when they could not locate the candy. You good?
Oh no. Yeah, sorry. Allergies,
It's
I just
okay.
had a coughing fit and I was like, not right now.
Okay. So, um, like I said, the parents of the 5th child became hysterical when they could not locate the candy after being notified by the police. The parents rushed upstairs to find their little boy asleep, holding the pixie stick.
Was it
He,
open?
no, thank
Okay.
God, he was actually unable to open the staples that sealed the wrapper of the pixie stick shut. That was the only thing that saved that
Oh,
baby.
wow.
So all five of the pixie sticks had been opened with the top 2 inches. I'm sorry. Nope. All of the 5 pixie sticks had been opened with the top 2 inches refilled with cyanide powder and resealed with a staple. So they realized that the actual
Wow.
pixie sticks themselves had been tampered with. Somebody had opened
Mm-hmm.
them, poured out some of the candy, and then refilled it with the cyanide powder and then stapled them shut. So,
Knowing that kids were gonna be eating that stuff. I mean,
right, right. So, according to a pathologist who tested the pixie sticks, the candy consumed by Timothy contained enough cyanide to kill 2 adults, while the other 4 candies contained enough to kill 3 to 4 adults.
wow.
That right there. Okay, so 2 inches. For those of you who aren't going to be watching our YouTube, 2 inches. If you hold your finger up, the top indentation of your finger is 1 inch. The second indentation where your middle knuckle is, or where your only knuckle is, that's 2 inches. So just that
Gosh.
much of the cyanide powder is enough to kill 3 to 4 adults. That is insane to me.
Wow.
So O'Brien initially told police that he could not remember which house he got the pixie sticks from.
Of course.
Of course, police became suspicious because O'Brien and his neighbor had only taken the children to homes on 2 streets, because when they originally went out to go trick-or-treating to start with, it had been kind of misty,
Mm-hmm.
but the more that they went into the trick-or-treating and stuff like that, the more steady that the rain had become. So their suspicions increased after learning that none of the homes that they visited had given out pixie sticks. So after walking the neighborhood with police 3 times, O'Brien led them to a home where no one had answered the door. O'Brien claimed that he went back there after catching up with the group. He said that the owner of the home did not turn the lights on, but did crack the door open and handed him 5 pixie sticks. He claimed to have only seen the man's arm, which he described as quote unquote hairy. Okay.
It's just a little sketchy though.
I mean, right?
I mean, who's
So
gonna take candy out of just somebody's arm?
some random
And
ass person.
that's all that you see.
Right. And
I
then give it to my
mean,
children,
yeah, that
you know?
just doesn't, no,
Yeah.
no, just no.
So the home was owned by a man named Courtney Melvin. Melvin was actually an air traffic controller at William P. Hobby Airport and did not get home from work until 11 p.m. on Halloween night. Police ruled Melvin out as a suspect when over 200 people were able to confirm that he had actually been at work. So, as their investigation progressed, police learned that Ronald O'Brien was over $100,000, which is equivalent to $590,000 today, in debt and had a history of being unable to hold a job. Girl, that makes my heart hurt.
I'm telling you, I sat back. I was like, oh my God. Oh,
That's some debt right there. I'm just saying.
Well, that just shows you just how much it's changed over time too. That difference of
Yeah.
100,000 then is 590 today.
Yeah.
Ouch.
That's a lot.
Ouch. Oh.
So, he was in debt and had a history of being unable to hold a job. In the 10 years preceding the crime, O'Brien had held 21 jobs in 10 years. That's like no more than 6 months per job.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's a crazy turnover.
Right. So at the time of his arrest, he was suspected of theft at his job at Texas State Optical and was close to being fired. I heard in some of my research that it was for stealing, but I mean, I couldn't confirm that. So his car was about to be repossessed. He had defaulted on several bank loans, and the family home had been foreclosed on. Police discovered that O'Brien had taken out life insurance policies on his children. Yeah. So,
and the plot thickens.
Yeah. So in January of 1974, he had taken out a $10,000, which is equivalent to $59,339 today, worth of life insurance policies on both of his children. 1 month before Timothy's death, O'Brien took out an additional $20,000 life insurance policy, which is equivalent to $118,700 today. So policies on both children, despite the objections of his life insurance agent. So I grew up poor. So my parents was just like, it's the luck of the draw. They wasn't going to be able to take out no life insurance policies on me. It was never even a thought in my head when I was raising my children to take out life insurance policies on them.
Right. Like,
you know what I mean?
How is that even an option?
How's that a thing?
Like, yeah. How is that the first thing that you kind of come to? Like, how do you get to that conclusion?
Right. They're 5 and 8.
I feel like you skip some steps, maybe let's sell some things that we probably don't need, let's consolidate some debt, maybe, let's just take out the kids and get their life insurance.
I mean, cause like that was your first go-to was let's just take out a bunch of life insurance policies on my 5-year-old and my 8-year-old.
Right. And it baffles me so much how a lot of times in an intimate crime, you're either for a spouse or children or both in some cases, where you make sure that all the life insurance is up to date or, in order and everything. And then something just mysteriously happens to them. So obviously that was your motive, was money.
Right. I mean, it's hard to deny at that point.
Yeah, I just don't understand. Like, how do you think that for whatever reason, no matter how you disguise it,
right,
you're gonna get caught?
I mean,
it is what it is.
Even though this was,
but how you get there is just the mind-boggling thing.
It is, and I mean, I understand that this was back in the early 70s, but still, that's a stretch.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Right. And again, with the whole, let's sell some assets. Let's, consolidate some stuff here. Let's
and surely this has to be a long drawn out plan. Okay. You're already in this much debt, but let's go and take out some insurance policies which have payments.
Yeah.
Okay. And it's not like you can take one out 1 week and then kill the kid the next week and it not be suspicious.
Yeah, I know. Like, but for that to be your thought, like, okay, so we're going to get this amount of money if we do this and commit this crime, so we can pay this off. Do you hear yourselves when you
Right.
come up with a plan like this?
Where was your train of thought? Because it makes zero sense to me. Zero.
Right. But unfortunately, we're not set up to have that mindset.
Right. Yeah.
We feel remorse. Those
Yeah.
people do not.
Right. Oh, yeah, absolutely. So, in the days preceding Timothy's death, O'Brien had taken out yet another $20,000 days before the death, had taken out yet another $20,000 policy on each child. The various policies totaled approximately $60,000 back then, which would be equivalent to $356,000 today.
Wow. Oh
So,
my gosh.
yeah. So O'Brien's wife maintained that she did not know about the insurance policies on her children's lives. Police also learned that on the morning after Timothy's death, O'Brien had called the insurance company to inquire about collecting the policies that he had taken out on his son.
The morning after?
Yes, ma'am. The morning after. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Like,
Yeah.
that's sick.
Yeah. So after learning that O'Brien had visited a chemical supply store in Houston to buy cyanide shortly before Halloween of 1974, now, mind you, he didn't purchase any at that particular time because he found out that the smallest amount available to purchase was 5 pounds. So he didn't buy any that day that they could prove. So police began to suspect that Ronald O'Brien had laced the candies with poison in an effort to kill his children to collect on their life insurance policies. They believed he gave the other children poison candy in an effort to cover up his crime. So
he willingly went through the tactics, I guess, to plan whoever was going to get this candy anyways.
yes.
Deaths. So not only was he willing to take out his own children, but he was willing to take out anybody else because it could have been an adult. I mean,
his neighbor and his friends' kids, right? The guy who he went trick-or-treating with, he gave both of his children pixie sticks, just like he gave his own kids. And then some random ass boy that he knew from church was the last one that he gave out on his way home that night.
And knew what was going to happen if they were to consume it too. Like that should be considered premeditated, is it not?
Right. I mean, I'm just saying.
I mean, because
wow, we're gonna get there.
that's just twisted.
Like, it is. But just to throw the cops and everything off of his trail, he was willing to like say,
basically kill anybody in his path.
Yeah, fuck it, whatever.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's twisted.
So even though police repeatedly questioned O'Brien, he maintained his innocence. He was like, nope, didn't do it. Don't know what you're talking about. No.
Oh, of course.
No, of course. So although police never discovered when or where O'Brien bought the poison, he was arrested for Timothy's murder on November the 5th of 1974. He was indicted on 1 count of capital murder and 4 counts of attempted murder.
Yeah.
There it is.
Yeah, I was about to say, because he knew what the results were going to be if anybody, including the children he gave it to, was going to consume it.
Willingly.
Happen. Yeah.
Yep. Didn't care.
There you go.
Yeah.
Like, how can you do that?
Did not care. Did not give a single fuck. So O'Brien entered a plea of not guilty to all 5 counts. And his trial began in Houston on May the 5th of 1975. Yeah, he's going to the mat with this shit. I mean, I'm just saying.
Idiot.
So, yeah. So during the trial, a chemist who was acquainted with O'Brien testified that in the summer of 1973, O'Brien had contacted him asking about cyanide and how much would be fatal. A chemical
red flag. Let's wave a few right there.
Because, I mean, could it get any redder? Yeah.
I promise you, if somebody contacts me for anything suspicious like that, I'm going to be like, 911.
Yeah. Excuse me, I need to speak to a detective. Thank you very much.
Yeah, because something's not right.
Right. So a chemical supply salesman also testified that O'Brien had asked him how to purchase cyanide. Friends and coworkers testified that in the months before Timothy's death, O'Brien showed an, quote, unusual interest, end quote, in cyanide and spoke about how much it would take to kill a person. O'Brien's sister-in-law and brother-in-law testified on the day of Timothy's funeral that he had spoken about using the money from Timothy's insurance policy to take a long vacation and buy other items. At his funeral, I wish y'all could see Shelby's face right now. At his funeral.
I don't even know what to say. I mean, the boy ain't even cold.
Right.
And he's, so worried about a vacation. He called the morning after his death and, was.
What about all your damn debt? You worried about a vacation and buying stuff. What about the debt that you're in, bro?
Right. Like, let's go back to
Jesus Christ.
Whatever it was in your mind that said that you needed to go through these extremities to do this, to receive the money to pay off this debt, because that was how your mind was wired.
Right.
I mean,
but now you're worried about a vacation and buying some shit.
And all those people that testified and everything, going back to that, he obviously was thinking about this for a long time.
Right. I mean, this absolutely was premeditated at 100%. 100%.
I mean, if you're wondering, like, how many months before was he asking for, how much it can kill somebody, or how much of the cyanide can kill someone?
It said that months. It just says months. It doesn't give like a.
But still, specific. I mean, you're talking like months. I mean, that could mean
8 months.
That could mean 6 months. It could be, I mean, that's a lot. So you put enough thought into it ahead of time before you did this,
and research. Talking to the chemical people, all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
And I mean, at his funeral, really?
Right. The day they put that baby in the ground. Yeah.
I mean, at least just wait until after the funeral.
I mean, could you be more obvious?
Right. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
I have no words.
So, as well, his wife rejected the claim that Timothy had actually chosen the pixie stick, stating that O'Brien had, in fact, forced him to choose the stick. O'Brien continued to maintain his innocence. His defense mainly drew upon the decades-old urban legend concerning a mad poisoner who hands out Halloween candy laced with poison or needles or candy apples with razor blades inserted. Now, that's where I was going to come to from earlier when they were talking about all the legends and stuff like that. About this started happening right about the time, 75, I was 3. But later on, like when I was 6, 7, 8, when I actually remember going trick-or-treating and things like that, I remember having to come home and dump my candy bag out on the floor on a sheet so Didi and them or Grandma could go through it and make sure there wasn't anything in there. Like, there used to be a time when we could get like fruit and stuff like that. Like some people would actually make popcorn balls, or like people just making homemade stuff. That used to be a thing back in the day. But after this right here happened, people were freaking out.
Oh, I couldn't imagine
any kind of loose, any kind of loose, because people used to put, back in my day, there was these little hard candies. You could buy them in bags. They were loose. They were not like they are today, where they're individually wrapped and stuff like that. You could buy a bag of candy. It was just a bunch of damn candy in there.
Oh, okay. They weren't like individually wrapped.
No, it was just like a bunch of hard candy. Yeah, okay. It was like one bag full of hard candy, a bunch of little hard candies. Okay. So they would take and they would like divide up those hard candies into the little Ziploc bags and stuff like that, and then just give them out to the kids and stuff. Well, that I remember when all that came to an abrupt halt. You could whatever you got, if you got like fruit or anything like that, they wouldn't let you have it because everybody was saying that apples had razor blades in them. The people were putting like hypodermic needles in them, stuff like that.
Wow.
So yeah, it was like a real big lockdown on the kind of candy and stuff that you could eat back then. And that is when a lot of the candy companies and stuff started individually wrapping the pieces of candy,
right?
Because of this right here.
Well, it's still a really big thing still.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I remember the last, I don't know, 3 or 4 years at least, that I can remember that, fentanyl
Oh yeah.
is becoming so big. And I'm sure it's like kind of always been a problem, but here lately it's really been a huge problem.
Yeah.
And there's been like several people that will post like what the real candy is supposed to look like, whether I think I've seen it as like Sour Patch Kids, maybe some Skittles, like because they're sometimes you can get it in that big bag and it'll have like the little bags that have like 3 or 4 of them or however many in them.
Yeah.
But apparently there's people that are making like their own quote unquote version of that,
Yeah.
and like how different like the lettering is, or I mean people are creative
They
with
are.
what they try to do and how they try to disperse whatever amongst other people. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I definitely highly recommend going through candy because you just never know, because there are just some sick people in this world.
Absolutely, absolutely. And what you were saying about like the Sour Patch Kids and stuff like that, you can get those
Mm-hmm.
little individual bags which will have like 3 or 4 or 5 whatever in there.
Yeah,
But and the way that they hide that is because the Sour Patch Kids have like a dusting of powder on the outside, which
like
actually makes them
it
sour.
yeah, like that,
Hmm.
it's like a sugar coating,
Yeah.
sour coating, whatever it
Hmm.
is, but it's
Yeah.
kind of like if you look at the bottom of the bag, it's like almost white and
Yep.
crystallized,
It's
you
granules.
know.
Yeah. Hmm.
Hmm.
So
And so when they make their own little bags, like I've seen a post about it once before, or and it's usually around like Halloween when they spread it around.
sure.
If I find one, I'll have to share it with you or something. But
Yeah, we'll put it in our
the
post.
you can see like the difference in the way that the package is, like
Hmm.
how it's advertised, like Sour Patch Kids, what Sour Patch Kids look like, it has their Sour Patch Kids logo on it and
Sure.
the little Sour Patch Kid playing on the little package or whatever. But
Hmm.
theirs is just those just little subtle differences
Yeah.
that if you're not really thinking to look for it, you won't really see the difference. So I
Right.
mean, it's people can be creative.
It's scary. It is super,
Very
super
scary.
scary. So these stories have persisted despite the fact that, get this now, there have been no documented instances of strangers poisoning Halloween candy. There is absolutely none. I mean,
Wow.
starting back in the early 70s, this is like 1975, there have been no actual documented cases of people poisoning candy, um, putting razor blades in candy, needles in candy, anything like that. There have been no documented cases, which
Hmm.
really blows my mind, especially with what you just
Yeah,
said about
I was
the
about to
fentanyl and stuff
say,
like that. Yeah.
yeah, I was about to
Hmm.
say that actually does surprise me because I
Me
mean
too. Yeah.
that it has been a thing. I mean, I remember my parents, they weren't as strict, I guess, but I never really got, none that I remember. I don't remember getting anything like kind of homemade. But
Hmm.
I do remember them taking my candy out when I was a child and just going through everything and just checking it. And
Yeah.
I don't know a lot of people if anybody else does this, but some people will just kind of joke either with their significant other or their kids or something. They'll be like, "Oh, let me get a bite of that. Let me check and see if it's poisonous."
Right. Yeah.
But it's
Yeah.
it's just it's a thing. It's just a joke. It's not being serious. But if you think about it, like we do have to check and make sure things aren't poisonous.
Right. And it's just
So,
like when my grandkids, whenever they all lived at home, my kids live in different states now, but when we had first had the grandbabies and we took them trick or treating and stuff like that, we would dump out their candy and just say there was a random piece of individually wrapped candy. You know how sometimes you'll get them and one will be unwrapped. It's just something from the
mm-hmm.
factory. It was a
Yeah,
goof or
some
whatever.
of them aren't
That
wrapped
shit went straight.
tightly.
Yeah, that shit went straight in the trash.
Yes,
I mean, because you just
100%.
didn't know. You just didn't
Yep.
know.
That's still a real thing for me. Even if I buy candy for myself
Right.
and I go through
Mhm.
a bag and like if I'm having like Starburst or something,
Yeah.
because I love Starburst and I'm eating them or whatever, and then I come across one and like a corner of it's been ripped open and like some of the Starburst is showing, nope, we're not eating that one, straight to the
Absolutely.
garbage.
Right.
That's just, and I think that that's how everyone's mind should be wired, because
Yeah.
you don't know. You don't
That's
know what
right.
kind of
I
people are
mean,
working in the factories that does this stuff every
right.
day. You never know.
Right. I mean, and it's sad, but it's true. I mean, you just have
Mm-hmm.
to be you have to be so diligent.
Cautious. Yes,
Yes. Mhm.
100%. Because again, some people could just take like fill up a needle of something and just very discreetly just pop a hole in something, and you would never know the difference
You'd never
unless,
see it. Yeah.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and that's the thing. Again, people are so creative with the way that they come up with ways of distributing these drugs, narcotics, whatever it is that they have that they're trying to disperse across, or whatever target group of people they're going after, or whatever the case may be.
Yeah. Yeah. So the case and subsequent trial garnered national attention, and the press dubbed O'Brien the Candyman. On June 3rd of 1975, a jury took 46 minutes to find O'Brien guilty of capital murder and 4 counts of attempted murder. The jury took 71 minutes to sentence him to death by electrocution. Shortly after he was convicted, his wife filed for divorce. She later remarried, and her new husband actually adopted her daughter Elizabeth, which I think is amazing. At the time, men sentenced to death under Texas law were confined to the Ellis 1 unit near Huntsville, Texas. According to Reverend Carol Pickett, a former chaplain who worked for the Texas Department of Criminal Justice, O'Brien was shunned and despised by his fellow death row inmates for killing his child and was absolutely friendless. The inmates,
they always, when it
oh,
comes to kids,
the inmates are
they
not
don't play.
playing. No, ma'am, they are not playing. And I don't care how, speaking from personal experience, I don't care how quiet they try to keep your charges. When you come in as fresh meat, quote unquote, whether it's female prison, male prison, it doesn't matter. There's going to be, and I'm not trying to call out no officers or anything like that, but there's going to be somebody in there who lets somebody know exactly what the charges of that person are, because a lot of times they will try to hide some of them will try to hide what that person is actually in there for. They'll tell you fake shit. Yeah, they'll tell you fake shit or whatever, but sooner or later that's going to come out. And if it has anything to do with rape, if it has anything to do with children, if it has anything to do with animal abuse, anything like that, you can go ahead and count the days that you're going to last. I mean, I'm just saying, because whether or not, I mean, there are so many different situations you can find yourself in that make your life miserable.
You just hear so many horror stories about stuff like that in prison and everything. But I mean, you go to one of them real tough prisons, like San Quentin or somewhere like that, you're toast. I mean,
yes, ma'am.
Like you said, you might as well count your days.
Yeah. And I mean, it's the same whether you're in prison, whether you're in jail. If they find out what you did, you better hope for protective custody. I'm just saying. So the inmates reportedly petitioned to hold an organized demonstration on O'Brien's execution date to express their hatred of him. O'Brien's first execution date was set for August the 8th of 1980. His attorney successfully petitioned for a stay of execution. A second date was scheduled for May the 25th of 1982. That date was also postponed. Judge Michael McSpadden scheduled a third execution date for October the 31st of 1982. That was actually the 8th anniversary of the crime. He offered personally to drive O'Brien to the death chamber because he was over it at this point. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, I couldn't imagine.
However, it was to have been the first time that Texas actually executed an inmate by lethal injection. Before that, they had the electric chair. And at that time in Texas, it was said to be cruel and unusual punishment, blah, blah, blah. They thought that the lethal injection would be more humane, whatever. So the Supreme Court delayed the date yet again to give O'Brien a chance to pursue an appeal or to seek a new trial. A fourth date was scheduled for March the 31st of 1984. O'Brien's lawyer sought a fourth stay on the basis that lethal injection was a cruel and unusual punishment. All I got to say to you is fuck off. Okay.
I
Right.
think that the cruel and unusual punishment is what he did to his kid and what he tried to do to other kids.
Thank you. And even my boss, I was telling him about this. I was telling him about this morning because he always wants to know what we're talking about that week because
Mm-hmm.
he's interested. He follows, what we're doing or whatever. So I was telling him about it, and he was like, "Well, what I think ought to happen is that they ought to take a couple days and just give him a little bit of that cyanide every day
Yeah.
and see how he likes it."
Listen, I have, especially in cruelty manners like such as this one, I
Mm-hmm.
have always just kind of said, and it would be very awful, and the government, nobody would ever agree to it. But
Right.
however they disposed of or whatever they did to unalive their victims,
Yep.
that should be how they go.
Absolutely.
Because
100%.
you should get a taste of your own medicine. And that
Eye
may
for an
be
eye.
dark and sinister, but
Yeah.
guess what? What they chose to do, what their actions did,
Yep.
yeah, I mean, karma.
Well,
Listen, what goes
exactly.
around comes around.
And that's what I'm saying. I mean, I know a lot of people, when I say this, are going to be like, "Oh, no." But I believe in an eye for an eye. If you do that to a person, then I believe that the same thing should be done to you. It's only fair.
Especially if he planned this however many months ahead of time, because we don't necessarily know how many months that this was on his mind, but we know that it was several
Right.
months at
Right.
least. So several months he plotted and planned to kill at least his children and many more.
Right.
That
Right.
was
I
his
mean,
goal.
he didn't care at all about his children, his neighbor and friend, supposedly friend, his children, or this random ass little boy that he knew from church. He did not care. All he cared about was them not tracing it back to him.
Yeah. So
So,
yeah, definitely pour them pixie sticks down his throat and see how he likes it.
yeah, exactly. How you feeling now, bro?
Make that his last
I
meal.
mean, I'm just saying, okay?
That wasn't funny.
So,
I'm sorry.
no, it's fine. So on
Y'all
March
people probably think I'm a serial killer the way that my intrusive
No,
thoughts take
it's just
over.
no, but seriously though, it's just like, especially when it comes to children, I have zero empathy and
Yeah,
zero sympathy for anybody who hurts kids.
absolutely.
They are the
They're
innocent.
innocent. He was the
They have
boy, he was
they
five,
have He was 8
eight.
and his
Yeah,
little
he
sister
was,
was 5, which
yeah,
he
that's
planned
right.
on killing both of them because he had
Right.
insurance policies on both of them. You know what I'm saying? These are innocent little
They were
children
dollar
who,
amounts.
yeah,
That was
and
it.
these are babies who look up to you because you are their daddy and they love you. So they're going to
hmm
do anything that you give them, anything that you say. That's law to them. They don't know no
Yeah.
different. So, anyway,
So
so on March the 28th, the federal judge rejected the request of another appeal. So on March the stop, Major. So on March the 31st of 1984, shortly after midnight, O'Brien was executed by lethal injection at the Huntsville unit. His last meal, speaking of last meals, his last meal consisted of a T-bone steak, medium to well done, French fries and ketchup, whole kernel corn, sweet peas, lettuce and tomato salad with egg and French dressing, iced tea with sweetener, saltines, Boston cream pie, and rolls. Now, get ready for this because I got his last words for you. O'Brien's last words were, quote, "What is about to transpire in a few moments is wrong. However, we as human beings do make mistakes and errors. This execution is one of those wrong things, yet doesn't mean our whole system of justice is wrong. Therefore, I would forgive all who have taken part in any way in my death. Also, to anyone I have offended in any way during my 39 years, he was 39 years old, I pray and ask your forgiveness just as I forgive anyone who offended me in any way. And I pray and ask God's forgiveness on all of us respectively as human beings. To my loved ones, I extend my undying love. To those close to me, know in your hearts I love you one and all. God bless you all, and may God's best blessings be always yours. Ronald C. O'Brien. P.S. During my time here, I have been treated well by all TDC personnel." End quote.
that just made me so mad. I
Oh
can't
my
even lie
God, girl. I was
because
boiling when I read that.
it's just the fact, just own up to it. Just,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
if you have Okay, so my religious side is going to come out for a second. If
Sure.
you have went out and sought forgiveness, okay, because I do believe that Jesus will forgive because and I believe that he forgives and forgets, okay, because that's what the Bible says. And you may not forget what you do, but he does. I believe that.
Okay.
However, if you cannot admit to yourself the sick choices and acts that you have gone through, then I don't believe that you believe that you are saved.
Right.
I don't,
Mm-hmm.
because you have to admit that to yourself. Just as like if somebody can admit that they have done wrong, and that takes power to do that, because
Sure.
for somebody that can admit that they've made a wrong decision or did something wrong, and I'm not speaking on the fact that he did what he did to his kids and tried to do to many others, but
Mm-hmm.
if you can admit, like, hey, you know what, I did this and I was wrong about it,
Yeah.
it takes a lot of strength to do.
Right.
But the fact
But
that you
you,
hide behind that as a coward,
yeah,
that's what pisses me off.
he never admitted that he did it. He did not put himself, he did not throw himself on God's mercy and say, please forgive me for what I have done. I know what I did was wrong. Nothing like
Mm-hmm.
that. I mean, he didn't ask for forgiveness.
No.
He still
And
tried to take that lie to the grave, and he did take that lie to the grave.
right, exactly. And so here's the thing. So you telling me that cyanide just jumped right up in that pixie stick
Mm-hmm.
and fed it to your kids?
It was
You
just an
you
accident, Shelby. I don't know what you mean.
you're telling me that that's how that happened? Like you had how
Yeah.
much? You said 2 inches of stuff in there,
2 inches.
man.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Sickening. He's
Yep.
probably sitting somewhere in purgatory
We
or
can only
somewhere.
hope. Yeah, we can only hope. So, during the execution, a crowd of 300 demonstrators gathered outside the prison, cheering, while some yelled, trick or treat. Others showered anti death penalty demonstrators with candy. So, um, okay, so I'm going to say this and we'll talk about it just for a few seconds. I am on the fence about the death penalty a little bit.
Mhm.
I do believe in some cases an eye for an eye, just like what I said before,
Sure.
whether it's rape, children, animal abuse, whatever the case may be. Am I in favor of the death penalty? Mm-hmm. Yep,
Hmm.
I am. Are there some cases where I don't feel like that is justified? Also, yes.
Yeah.
So I kind of flip flop between that, and that's on me. I can't make that judge. It's not my judgment to make, but it is
Mhm.
my opinion that on
Sure.
those three situations that I feel like they should get what they got
Yeah,
or
I
get what they
agree.
gave. You know what I mean?
Right. No, I definitely
But
understand. It's one of those situations that's just kind of a tough subject. It just depends on the whole, you know, strain or strain of crimes committed, what
right.
happened,
Mm-hmm.
because we both know, because we've had this discussion quite a number of times, that in prison, if they're serving like a super long sentence, let's just say 30 years, 40 years, something like that. They don't have life, but they have 30 or 40 years, but they can go up for parole in a certain amount of time, they're
Right.
going to be on their best behavior
Of course they are.
because they're going to try to show that, they can be good, quote unquote,
Mm-hmm.
and get out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then quite possibly commit, if not the same murder, something worse,
Right.
or something. It's usually murder than when they're in there for a super long time. So I'll just go with that. But um, he was premeditated. He thought about this to go through such strength of collecting this, going through the research, making sure that life insurance was in order. I mean, like this was all planned. It wasn't like he just woke up one day and was like, we're going to do this today.
Right.
This
Mm-hmm.
was planned over however long of a time.
Yeah.
I mean, 6, 8, 9, 10 months, maybe a
Right.
little less, but it took some time to get all this in order.
Yeah. Absolutely, it did.
So no, I think that he got what was coming for him.
I think so too. So Ronald O'Brien is buried in Forest Park East Cemetery in Webster, Texas. Timothy is buried in Forest Park Lawndale Cemetery in Houston. Timothy's sister Elizabeth is in her 40s now. And she has managed to put the incident behind her and has actually managed to raise a family and have a good life. Her mother still lives in the Pasadena area. And that is our case with the Candyman.
Wow.
So I wanted to do something a little Halloween oriented because it is the spooky month. I love
Mhm.
October. I love this time of year. The end of the year is absolutely my favorite.
Yeah.
October for Halloween, November for Thanksgiving, and my all-time favorite holiday is Christmas. I
Yeah.
love Christmas. I wish it was a year round. I absolutely love Christmas. So, for those of y'all who are just here for the story, that's the end of our story. We love y'all. Thank y'all for y'all's support. And we're going to move on to our banter part of the episode. So, we hope that you will be with us next week to hear our next story. Okay. So, Shelby, what you got?
How's your week?
It was good. This cool weather has got me in a much better mood. It's been busy at work, which has been great because I love it when it's busy because the days go by faster.
Good.
Me and my coworker are getting along really well. He and I had to have a come to Jesus meeting last week, and I told him if he fucked up again, I was going to fire him. And ever since then, he's been on his best behavior.
Well, good. I guess
So,
you got to put the fear in them sometimes.
well, I feel like I had three separate incidents which I brought up to him and told him, you did this, you did this, you did this, and the thing about it was he's not a bad employee. He's a really good employee. I just think that he got a little bit off kilter for a little bit, but now he's great. I mean, he's Johnny on the spot. He does everything I asked. He does it well, and I'm really, really happy.
Good.
So this week's
Good.
been good. It's been good. He
Good.
got better. He had to stay out of work Monday. He was sick.
Oh
He was
no.
actually sick from last Friday afternoon all the way through Monday, and he's still got a little bit of congestion and pressure in his ears and stuff like that. But he's doing a
That
lot
was
better.
me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's doing a lot better. So
It was like this weather changed, and I was like, oh, look, you can go outside and you can actually breathe and it not just feel so heavy. Like,
yeah,
and then sinuses was like, nope,
check this
nope.
out. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah,
I swear the first weekend that it was a little cooler. I swear I had a sinus infection like a day or so later. Like it was just horrible. And every morning I wake up, I can't breathe.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah,
it's just because I'm still sleeping with my fan on. Like
yeah.
I'm gonna have the ceiling fan and the box fan on. Like there's no that's I don't care if it's 50 or 30 degrees outside. Like
Absolutely. Me too, girl. Me
it's
too.
about to be on.
Yep.
So yeah, I
I
wake
gotta
up
have
and
that.
I'm
Yeah,
stopped up every morning,
yeah,
but it's been great. It's been great. Not a lot going on for me this week. Nothing crazy. I got my car back. We talked about that a second ago.
yes. I'm so happy for you. It's been
It's
what, three
been
months?
yep, 3 months without my car.
Yeah,
Oh, I'm so happy to have it back. It feels like it's been forever. I get
yeah.
in and I'm like, oh, this is different.
This is nice. Yeah,
Like it because you just haven't been in it in so long. And I drove my car everywhere like that. I was just going. So I
yeah.
get back in it for the first time, and then wow, and I'm like, oh, so this is what this feels like,
Hmm.
So
This is what
I'm
I've been
excited
missing.
about that.
Yeah,
Yeah, there's not a lot exciting going on. Just I ain't even read this week. I swear, like I guess I just tried to give my mind a little break this
yeah,
week. I
yeah,
just been so my mind's just been going so crazy. A member of the Golden Key Honor Society now was my school. So I've been really focused on it. I've been really focused on my school and doing stuff for the podcast, trying to make, our social media just kind of grow and
yeah,
advance and everything.
yeah.
So I've been working on that stuff. I guess it's been pretty boring for me. Nothing exciting this way.
Well, Shelby has taken over our Instagram because I cannot figure out how to work it, and I just don't care anymore because it's like I get on there and I'm like, I don't know what to do. So Shelby has taken over our Instagram, which I'm super, super, super happy about.
Did I
And
make a post today? Oh, I think I did.
so, and then she and I are actually going to be in the same place this weekend, which is going to be super exciting because
It
we're
only
never
it only
able.
took how many months now?
I don't even know. I lost
Whenever
count.
whenever we started, I can't remember.
I think we
But
started in May because it was what was a month before your wedding? Is that right? Something like that.
well, we got married in June.
Yeah. So I think it was
So
end of April, first of
May
May.
sounds yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I think it was end of April, 1st of May, somewhere in there. I think that
Yeah.
sounds about right. But yeah,
So
no,
we haven't been in the same place except for your wedding.
that's it. And we obviously
Since
didn't do anything content related then.
no, we
Not a
were
lot
worried
going
about
on that
getting you
day.
hitched and making pictures. That was all we were
Yeah.
worried about that day.
But no, I definitely am excited. We'll get some stuff for the website
Yeah.
and everything going.
Yeah, we're gonna get some stuff for the website, some TikToks, maybe some more YouTube content, stuff like that. So you guys stick with it and be on the lookout for some of our new content. So we've
Absolutely.
also got another idea that we're playing around with, Zeros to Heroes. Every now and then, maybe once a month, once every month and a half or so, we're gonna try to do an episode that's on the flip side of true crime. It's going to be something about like a hero instead of all these zeros who are killers and assholes and stuff like that. We're going to find somebody that we feel like have done a really good thing, like helped people,
Yeah.
been there to assist somebody, something like that. We're not real sure. We're still working on it. But my husband actually came up with the idea,
So
and
shout out to
I really loved
Mickey.
it. Shout out to my baby Mickey. Um, but I really like the idea, and I was like uh talking to Shelby about it, and she likes it too. So we're gonna try to get some of that kind of content out for you guys as well.
Yeah, I think that's a
So
really cool idea. I really like that, just to incorporate it, and because we hear so much sadness and
so much
heartbreak
bad
and
shit. Yeah,
yeah, so
it would
I
be nice
think
to. It would
throw
be
it in the
nice to.
mix.
Right. It would be nice to focus on a little bit on the good side of life. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Not everybody's an asshole, so or a killer or whatever.
Well, you
So
know, most people are a little bit of or at least we
yeah.
can be.
Right. Right.
But
So
anyways,
yeah. So I think that's all I got. You?
yeah, I think I'm good. I think we like I said, nothing exciting this way.
Okay.
Nothing yet.
All right. So we want to thank all of you guys so much for being with us. Please go like, subscribe, rate, review. It really helps us a lot. And join us on our Facebook group page, Murders and Monsters. We also have an email so you can send us ideas for future cases or your own personal true crime stories. Email us at murdersandmonsters1311@gmail.com. Or you can contact Shelby and myself by sending us a message on our Facebook group page. We would love for y'all to help us reach our goal of 1,000 downloads in 30 days. So tell your friends and family about us. I've recently published 2 of our Patreon episodes on our regular podcast platform as well. So y'all can actually see how crazy and off the wall some of our episodes are there. So you can join our $5 a month Patreon Frankenstein clan and get 2 extra episodes a month. Go to patreon.com/murderers and monsters and sign up to hear those. We also have a website that lists all of our merch. Get it for the upcoming spooky season or for your true crime loving peeps for the holidays. Until next week, monsters do exist.
Don't be a victim.
Bye, guys.